All right, let's talk about cults. Not the fun kind, if there even is a fun kind, but the kind that makes you question everything you thought you knew about free will, manipulation, and human psychology. Hollywood loves a good cult story, but the problem with most cult movies is simple. You can always spot the villain. Real cult leaders don't work that way. So today, we're ranking the 7 most realistic cult leaders in fiction films. The ones that actually capture how these psychological traps work in real life. Let's get into it.
See, I come from 54. 2054. Your future.
7. Sound of My Voice, 2011, Maggie. Most cult leaders on this list are men, which is already a bias worth examining, because Sound of My Voice gives us something rarer and in some ways more unsettling. A young woman living in a basement who claims to be from the future. Britt Marling plays Maggie, the leader of a small, secretive group in Los Angeles. She's soft-spoken, fragile-looking, and completely in control of every room she's in. A couple infiltrates the group to expose her, and the film slowly, quietly, shows us how even the most skeptical people can get pulled in. What makes Maggie so realistic is her vulnerability as a weapon. She doesn't dominate. She draws people toward her. She's sick. She needs protection. She needs you specifically. That dynamic, where the follower feels like the protector, is one of the most underexplored manipulation tactics in cult psychology. She also uses exclusivity with surgical precision. The rituals, the secret handshake, the apple ceremony, none of it makes rational sense. But that's the point. Shared irrationality creates bonds. If you've done something strange together, you're connected in a way that outsiders can never understand. The film never tells you whether Maggie is a fraud or not, and that ambiguity is exactly right, because in real life, you never fully know either.
It's late. You want to go poking around other people's business, you go right on ahead. But if you put your hand into the dog's bowl, don't be surprised if you get bit.
6. The Sacrament, 2013, Father. If any film on this list should make you genuinely uncomfortable, it's this one. Ty West's The Sacrament follows a Vice Media journalist and his crew as they travel to a remote commune called Eden Parish to visit a colleague's sister. What they find is a seemingly utopian community, hundreds of people, smiling, productive, at peace, led by a man they call Father. Gene Jones plays Father as a large, slow-moving, deeply Southern patriarch who speaks entirely in the cadence of a preacher. He's funny, he's warm, he makes you feel guilty for doubting him. The film draws directly from the Jonestown Massacre of 1978, and that's what gives it its unbearable weight. We already know where this goes. We just have to watch it get there. What Father represents is total institutional control. Eden Parish isn't just a belief system, it's an economy, a government, a family structure, a medical system. Members have surrendered everything. There is no outside life to return to. Leaving isn't a spiritual crisis, it's an existential one. Father also demonstrates what researchers call us versus them framing at its most extreme. The outside world isn't just wrong, it's a threat. The journalist's arrival isn't an opportunity for transparency, it's an invasion. Gene Jones delivers one of the most chilling performances in recent horror history in a film that most people still haven't seen. The press conference scene alone is worth the entire runtime.
You think we're crazy?
I never said that.
It's okay. I'm not offended. A lot of people think we're crazy. But I doubt they're as happy as we are.
5. The Invitation, 2015, David and Eden. The Invitation is a masterclass in how cults actually recruit, and how hard it is to see it happening in real time. Will attends a dinner party at his ex-wife Eden's house. She's joined a grief recovery group called The Invitation. The people there seem happy. The ideas, accepting death, releasing attachment, don't sound insane. They sound like therapy. That ambiguity is exactly what recruitment looks like from the inside. The group uses what psychologists call thought-terminating cliches, simple, soothing phrases that short-circuit critical thinking. Let go. Be open. Pain is resistance. These aren't dangerous ideas on their own, but when they're used to override your instincts, they become tools of control. The film also nails social proof. Will's resistance weakens every time someone he trusts seems comfortable. If everyone is fine, maybe the problem is me. That's the trap, and it's heartbreakingly realistic.
I dream of a world in which each waking day we rise equal. This island.
4. Apostle, 2018, Malcolm. Gareth Evans, the director of The Raid, made a period horror film about a cult on an isolated island, and it is brutal. Michael Sheen plays Malcolm, the charismatic founder of a community that has settled on a remote island off the British coast in the early 1900s. He promises his followers a paradise of communal living, spiritual connection, and freedom from the corrupt mainland. What makes Malcolm realistic isn't his ideology, it's his practicality. He controls the food supply, the housing, the information. Leaving isn't just spiritually threatening, it's materially impossible. This is structural entrapment, one of the main reasons people don't leave real cults. Not because they're beyond saving, but because the cult has systematically removed every practical alternative. Malcolm also uses confession rituals. Members regularly disclose their doubts to community leaders. In real high-control groups, confession isn't for spiritual growth. It's surveillance. It tells the leader exactly who's wavering. The most chilling detail about Sheen's performance is the exhaustion underneath the charisma. Malcolm doesn't believe anymore, if he ever did. He's a man desperately maintaining a performance for an audience that would destroy him if they knew the truth.
Martha. You look like a Marcy May.
Marcy was my grandmother's name.
Wow. There you go.
3. Martha, Marcy May Marlene, 2011, Patrick. Martha, Marcy May Marlene, doesn't show you the cult from the outside. It drops you inside it. And that's what makes Patrick so disturbing. John Hawkes plays Patrick, the leader of a small farming commune in the Catskill Mountains. He's gentle, soft-spoken, almost paternal. He gives new members new names. He writes songs. He makes you feel chosen. The film follows Martha, a young woman who has just escaped the commune, as she tries to rebuild her life with her sister. But the structure keeps cutting back, showing us exactly how she got there, and exactly how Patrick made leaving feel impossible. What Patrick demonstrates is recruitment through vulnerability. He doesn't seek out his members, but he recognizes vulnerability immediately. Young women who are lost, isolated, searching for something. He offers community, purpose, a family. By the time the darker reality sets in, the emotional dependency is already complete. He also uses sexual control as a mechanism of initiation, something real cults do with disturbing frequency. The first night is framed as an honor, a ritual, something sacred. It's none of those things, but inside the belief system Patrick has constructed, it feels that way. What Hawkes captures so precisely is the softness of the control. Patrick never screams, he never threatens. He just quietly, persistently reshapes reality until Martha's version of the world and his version are the same thing. The scariest moment in the film isn't violent. It's when Martha, safe at her sister's house, still can't fully explain why she stayed as long as she did. That's the most realistic thing about Patrick. His victims can't even articulate what he did to them. 2. Midsommar, 2019, Pele and the Horga. Midsommar doesn't have a single cult leader. The entire Horga community functions as a distributed system of control, which is actually more realistic than the lone charismatic figure model. But Pele is the film's true architect. He selected Danny and her friends. He cultivated their trust over months. He knew exactly what the festival would involve, and he brought vulnerable, grieving outsiders into it anyway. Pele practices love bombing with surgical precision. He validates Danny's grief in ways her own boyfriend never does. He makes her feel, slowly and deliberately, that she belongs here. The Horga also use milieu control, total management of the physical and social environment. Remote location in Sweden. Psychedelics without full consent. Community members present at all times. Reality is carefully curated from the moment they arrive. What Astor gets exactly right is that the Horga don't look like a cult. They're beautiful. Their rituals feel almost wonderful, right up until they don't. Real cult recruitment often feels like coming home, like finally being understood. That's the trap.
That man in the armor, was that me?
Yes, that was your spirit. Our spirits live on in the whole of time.
1. The Master, 2012, Lancaster Dodd. There was never any other choice. Philip Seymour Hoffman's Lancaster Dodd, founder of The Cause, a movement that draws clear parallels to the early days of Scientology in 1950s America, is the definitive fictional cult leader. Brilliant, magnetic, funny, and completely dependent on being believed. What makes Dodd so psychologically accurate is his neediness. He isn't cold and calculating, he's hungry. He needs Freddie Quell, the broken drifter he takes in, to be proof that the cause works. When Freddie wavers, Dodd doesn't just lose a follower, he loses a mirror. This captures one of the least discussed dynamics in cult psychology, the mutual dependency between leader and follower. Cult leaders aren't just using their members, they're often psychologically dependent on them. The member's belief is what sustains the leader's belief in himself. The processing scenes, the intense, repetitive questioning Dodd uses to break down Freddie's defenses, are uncomfortable precisely because they look like they work. You can watch the resistance dissolving in real time. The film never condemns or excuses Dodd, it just watches him. And in watching him, shows us something true about charisma, need, and the desperate human desire to be told someone has figured out the answers. He hasn't, but he's very convincing. And in the end, that's all a cult leader really needs to be. Every single leader on this list shares one thing. They don't look dangerous from the outside. They look like visionaries, like healers, like the one person who finally understands you. Cults don't recruit by showing you the trap. They recruit by making the trap feel like home. Now, if this video made you a little uncomfortable, good. That was the point. Thank you for watching.